In September 2022, Bangalore faced the worst urban flood in recent history. Areas like Bellandur, Marthahalli, and Mahadevapura, all part of the Outer Ring Road or ORR, were submerged. And all these areas also happen to be where Phase 2A of the metro's Blue Line was under active construction. But this April, when a monsoon preparedness meeting was underway in Bangalore, the Metro Corporation or BMRCL was absent. In fact, it had been absent all the years before as well. Why? Well, simply because it was never included. Their absence this time didn't just stand out to my colleague, the Ken reporter Mrunmay Kulkarni, because of the floods that happened in 2022. It was because just weeks after this particular monsoon preparedness meeting, a hailstorm hit the city. And it was an aggressive one. Trees were uprooted, and 8 people died when a hospital's compound wall collapsed near them. And the flooded areas, Shivaji Nagar, Richmond Circle, and MG Road, sat directly above the upcoming underground pink line. Now, this problem isn't just limited to Bangalore's metro lines. For example, in Mumbai, the Acharya Atre Chowk station on Metro Line 3 flooded just 17 days after its inauguration in May last year. In Pune, again by May 2025, the additional commissioner of the municipal corporation publicly attributed nearly 30 new waterlogging sites to how the metro construction had altered drainage patterns. By the way, this was on top of more than 200 sites that had already been identified, which means even as India spends more than 2 lakh crore rupees to build them, the metro lines end up flooding the cities that they are meant to fix. And Runmai, who is with me in the studio today, explains how the flooding problem lies in the significant gap between the agencies building the city's infrastructure and the ones managing its drainage. Hi, Mrunmay. Thank you so much for joining us yet again on Daybreak. And I'm really excited to talk about this story because it's about urban flooding. And, that's something that affects all of us, especially in Bangalore. And I'm from Bombay. So, from my experiences in Bombay as well, I know, difficult it can be to exist in a city that has just poor urban planning and floods as soon as it rains. So, you start the story about how there was a hailstorm and an accident because of the hailstorm in Bangalore towards the end of April. And that's one thing that made you take the story up and follow it through. So, could you tell us a bit about what happened that day and why it was a sign of a deeper problem? And how does it tie into metro constructions?
Hi, Rachel. It's so nice to be back on Daybreak. I think this is like my fifth or sixth time recording with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what happened that day, end of April, as you know, as anyone living in Bangalore really knows, April is when we get the pre-monsoon showers, and they are
Right.
usually a lot harsher than the monsoon showers that we have because it rains a lot, it floods a lot. We act surprised every single time it happens. And
Yeah.
what happened was that I was at home uh, with our dog, and it started hailing, and our dog got super surprised as to what was happening. And I was following the news as to what was going on. I was on Twitter checking what was happening in most areas, and that's when I heard that a wall collapsed near Victoria Hospital, and a few people were crushed under it. There were a couple of deaths, and it did remind me of the flooding that had happened a few years ago in Bangalore. And I was concerned that all the stories I read around April were of the same type, that, roads are getting flooded, walls are collapsing. So I started to look a little deeper into it, like who's actually responsible for the mechanism. And that's how the story happened.
Like you said, we're surprised every time this happens. And one of the ironies that your story gets into is how there was a monsoon preparedness meeting just a couple weeks before this happened, right? So, what exactly was the result of that meeting, and why was there no preparedness?
Okay, so Like you mentioned, there are monsoon preparedness meetings. They happen almost every summer, and I had gone to a couple of them this year. Um I was in the meeting rooms. It was like I mentioned in the story that they always have the same type of coffee, and for some reason, like butter cookies, which everyone eyes, nobody really takes.
Right.
And um, I noticed that a lot of the corporations were part of the meetings. The BBMP, sorry, the Greater Bangalore Authority office is where it usually happens. The
Mm-hmm.
BWSSP was part of it. The Electricity Corporation was part of it, and there was talk about desilting the lakes, maybe clearing out the stormwater drains, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The BMRCL, that is the Metro Corporation, it was not part of the meeting.
Right.
And I went back and verified it wasn't part of any of the monsoon preparedness meetings that had taken
Mm-hmm.
place in the city. And
Right.
that's when I realized it hadn't been included in the conversations a few years ago either.
I see.
Which I found that very ironic because, as you know, metro work in Bangalore does happen, does happen along the lines where we have noticed most of the flooding happening. If you notice that in the story, I have written that most of the flooding in Bangalore has been happening along the Pink Line, where metro construction work has been going on. And it just felt really strange to me that a body which is involved in digging up tunnels in and around the city isn't involved in something as crucial as rain preparedness.
So, just for our listeners, could you tell us what areas are these where the flooding happens more often?
Uh, Okay, so there's a very pretty chart about it in the story. The most of the flooding in Bangalore this year in April happened in Shivaji Nagar. It happened around Richmond Circle, and it
Mm-hmm.
happened near MG Road. It's directly above the city's metro network's upcoming underground pink line.
I see.
Most of the other areas had rain, thunder, lightning. It had uprooting trees and a lot of roads, which kind of became mini rivers at that time. But flooding happened around the pink line areas.
I see. And like you said, the Metro Council was not involved in this meeting. Do you know
No,
why that could be?
I think it's kind of, I think it's a structural problem in the city right now. The BMRCL answers to the state government. It doesn't answer to the urban local bodies. So while, they can sort of work in tandem and in coordination with each other, there is an authority issue where if the uh, urban local body, in this case, the Greater Bangalore Authority, tells the BMRCL to maybe fix up a pillar that it has damaged, maybe, clear out a stormwater drain it has encroached. Technically, the metro body isn't obligated to listen to it. There is no funding connection between them, and there is no authority connection between them either. It's responsible to the state government, so that's kind of where it sits there.
Okay. So, who exactly is responsible to take care of this kind of drainage and when it comes to urban flooding?
Uh, Honestly, the drainage and everything else falls under the urban local body's ambit. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said over here, the people causing the issues are not the people who are actually responsible for clearing
Yeah.
out the drainage over there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, metros usually come under the metro rail corporations, and they are
Mm-hmm.
special purpose vehicles basically.
Mm-hmm.
They are evaluated on their speed, their capital efficiency, their ridership projections, and their financial closures. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Nothing in their mandate talks about, flood resilience or drainage continuity during construction, which means they don't
Okay.
have an incentive to spend money on making sure that their construction projects don't hamper with the city's drainage patterns.
I see. So you brought up earlier that about the flooding that happened a few years ago. You're referring to the flood that happened in 2022 in the outer ring, right, in Bangalore,
Right.
and that was about 4 years ago. And at that time, also, I think the metro construction was confirmed as one of the reasons why it happened and got as bad as it did. So why hasn't anything changed in the way this kind of operation happens since that time?
I think there have been a certain changes since that time, as in not legal structural changes about,
Mm-hmm.
accountability of metro bodies per se, but there have been more monsoon preparedness meetings because
Hmm.
the 2022 floods, I don't know how many of our listeners really remember this, but they were really
Hmm.
pretty severe.
Hmm.
Uh, a lot of reports came out about, refugee colonies completely going under the floods. And I
Right.
remember I was living in Marathalli at that time. Uh, there was the building where I was staying, I had to vacate it
Mm.
and go and live with friends somewhere else in other areas. And I could see that there were people roaming around in makeshift boats around that area. Made for a
Oh.
very fun visual at that time, but it was really a very serious problem. All of it
Mhm.
happened along the Blue Line metro construction. So there was Mahadevpura, Marathalli, Belandur, Silpur,
Mhm.
and all of it was the tech corridor, which
Right.
a lot of people working in tech could not really reach their offices.
Hmm. Oh, you mentioned that. You mentioned that the IT sector lost more than 200 crores in the flood. And that was because their employees were stuck in these floods and etc., right?
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
God. Okay. So, but this was also, I mean, this flood specifically, it was not something that was specific just to Bangalore, right? Like you noticed a similar pattern in Pune and Mumbai as well, where metro construction is going on.
Yes, actually, that was the interesting part of this. And in Pune, civic authorities have actually come on record blaming
Hmm.
the metro authorities for flooding and construction. Like, for example, ironically, again in the Pune's IT corridor, this has happened along Hinjewadi, along Baner, around Aund and Shivaji Nagar, Kothurud. All of these are areas where metro construction has been happening or has been happening in the past. And
Mm-hmm.
there were, I think the Pune municipal body actually identified 25 areas where such kind of flooding occurs. It's
Wow.
also happened in Mumbai, where in the Acharya Atre Chowk station, and
Mm-hmm.
apparently there was a pillar which was constructed wrongly, and it was just left there for 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is kind of what there was delayed pump activation. There was general unpreparedness for heavy rainfall, which I find very ironic in a city like Mumbai, which floods pretty much every year. So
So, considering that this problem is so, pervasive, it's happening across geographies in the same country with the same, uh, you know, uh, infrastructure construction. Uh, what is there something in the approval stages itself that's missing in that case? Because I'm assuming these metro corporations have to submit very detailed plans as to how they're constructing, where they're constructing, what they're going to be digging up.
right, right. So like you mentioned, there are detailed project reports.
Hmm.
They usually cover like metro alignment. They cover like land acquisition, financing. They talk about where the tunnels are going to go through, and they
Mm-hmm.
also talk about something called geotechnics, where they talk about whether the
Right.
land is strong enough to tunnel under. Most
Okay.
what's not part of these detailed project reports is a hydrological impact assessment. Like there's no watershed modeling, there is no monsoon contingency framework. Also, if you notice that cities often have a natural and a built up drainage system. It's
Mm-hmm.
based on the lay of the land, like the topography of the land, which are the higher grounds, which are the lower grounds. And there are drainage systems which have been built in the cities over decades of construction on it.
Right.
Generally, when you dig tunnels through there,
Hmm.
you, you actually sort of change the drainage pattern of a city.
Oh.
Now, what that
Permanently? This is permanently?
permanently, yes, because the tunnels are permanent. Uh,
Right.
Generally, when a metro sort of builds tunnels around this, they try to bypass the installed drains and pipes to keep the water moving while they work. But
Right.
when you're living in a dense city like Mumbai or Pune or Bangalore, the road space is tight and the drains do get boxed in.
Mhm.
So generally, when you're barricading areas for tunneling work, the municipal crew that desilts the drain every year, they can usually not get any access and the drains end up
Oh,
blocked. And the
right.
original drainage logic of the area, it does get permanently shifted.
Right. I'm assuming also because, road, like, some areas will be higher than usual because of the tunneling underneath and,
Yeah.
vice versa.
So one of my friends actually gave me this example, which I think is like it's pretty cool. So when you're building a metro station, especially if it's underground, uh, like think the Cubbon Park metro runs underground, the metro near the Vidhan Sauda runs underground. What you're doing is essentially you're digging a huge hole and then you're filling it back up differently. So the road above that area is at a different angle than it used to be. So now when a road used to slope towards the drain before, it may be the because of the incline, the angle, it will slope away from the drain. So the natural drainage pattern of the road itself gets altered. And that is not something that you evaluate and in your project reports for the metros, which is something I really think should happen. So
I see. Is there a reason why it hasn't happened already? Like, is it
I
just like
think
a lack of foresight?
I think it's just a lack of foresight. Just nobody really considered hydrological impacts while planning.
Right. So we spoke about this earlier. You write and you mentioned in the episode also that the IT sector lost more than 200 crores in the 2022 floods. Did the BMRCL have to, reimburse them in some way for that?
No. Again, this is kind of a governance issue that technically the BMRCL wasn't responsible legally. I mean, okay, because again, it doesn't fall under the urban local bodies. There was no sort of mention of you lost money because of the metro construction projects. It wasn't established on paper per se. So I don't think the IT companies really got reimbursement from anybody about that one.
And now Pink Line in Bangalore is under construction and it's going to only go live in December, right?
Hmm.
Have the construction areas like the ones we spoke about earlier, Shivaji Nagar, MG Road, and
Richmond.
Richmond Town, have those areas been like doing okay over this monsoon?
I did hear a few more reports of areas near Shivaji Nagar getting flooded during
Mm-hmm.
particularly heavy rains. We do have a weaker monsoon this year than we've had in the past years because of the El
Yeah.
Nino. So I suppose there is like some relief to the flooded areas over there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but still, this is it's an ongoing issue.
Mm-hmm. And do you think there is any way to actually fix this for good?
I do think so. I think if there was greater coordination between metro SPVs and urban local bodies, then this would really not be an issue.
Hmm.
There are a lot of, like I mentioned, there are a lot of sort of hydrological problems to consider. There is a lot of, governance issues over here, but sometimes it can be as simple as including the metro authorities in your pre-monsoon planning. Just
Right.
be calling them to the meeting, asking them, ki, hey, if you're digging a tunnel through this area, should we, plan diversions over here? Or your
Hmm.
tunneling has destroyed this stormwater drain, should we get this one cleared out?
Right.
I think a better coordinated monsoon planning system would really be a great start.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Runmai, for joining us on Daybreak again. And thank you everyone for listening. And we will see you on Monday.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber only offerings. A full subscription offers daily long form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleague Rachel Varghese and edited by Rajiv Sien.